Kalevaram yogi. Jajan Kalevaram yogi. Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi. Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi. Bhatyavesha Mano Yasmin. Vacha Yannama Kirtayan. Jajan Kalevaram yogi. Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi. Bhatyavesha Mano Yasmin. Vacha Yannama Kirtayan. Jajan Kalevaram yogi. Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi.
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Bhatyavesha Mano Yasmin.
Vachayan Nama Kirtayan.
Vachayannama Kirtayan.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bhi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi.
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Bhatyavesha Mano Yasmin.
Vachayannama Kirtayan.
Vachayannama Kirtayan.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bhi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi. Anybody else? And try, no problem.
No, bro.
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Vachayan Nama Kirtayan.
Vachayannama Kirtayan.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bhi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi. Anybody from online would like to make an attempt?
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Yeah. Maharaji Prabhu Jyotirmay Mataji.
Watch. No, can you hear me, Prabhu?
They're not audible.
I think he was speaking.
Yeah, they're not audible, I guess. I don't know. Same my TV only. This volume is muted. TV?
Yes.
TV is muted. One second. TV remote. 1 second, devotees. Yeah, Maharaji Prabhu, you can try again.
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Bhaktya Mano Yasmin.
Vachayan Nama Kirtayan.
Vachayannama Kirtayan.
Yajan Kalevaram yogi.
Jajan Kalevaram yogi.
Muchyate Kama Karma Bihi.
Uchyate Kama Karma Bihi. So we'll read the synonyms. Bhaktya, with devout attention. Have you seen the meaning? Normally, bhakti means devotional service. Now here, bhaktya means with devout attention. Okay. Aveshya, meditating. Manaha, mind. Yasmin, in whom. Vacha, by words. Yet, whose. Nama, holy name. Kirtayan, by chanting. Jajan, quitting. Kalevaram, this material body. Yogi, the devotee. Muchyate, gets released. Kama karma bihi, from fruitive activities. Translation and purport by Sri Venkatesa Bhai Charanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Kindly repeat the translation. The personality of Godhead
Godhead
who appears
who appears
in the mind of the devotee
in the devotee
by attentive devotion
by attentive devotion
and meditation and by chanting of the holy name
And by chanting of the holy name,
releases the devotee
releases
lets
the
the devotee
bondage of fruitive activities
from the bondage of fruitive activities
at the time of his quitting
at the time of his
of his
quitting
the material body.
the material body.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Yoga means
Yoga
concentration of the mind detached from all other subject matter. And actually, such concentration is samadhi or 100% engagement in the service of the Lord. And one who concentrates his attention in that manner is called a yogi. Such a yogi, devotee of the Lord, engages himself 24 hours daily in the service of the Lord, so that his whole attention is engrossed with the thoughts of the Lord in ninefold devotional service, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, becoming a voluntary servant, carrying out the orders, establishing a friendly relationship, and offering all that one may possess in the service of the Lord. By such practice of yoga or linking up in the service of the Lord, one is recognized by the Lord. Hare Krishna. Lakshmi Sri Radha Krishna ki jai. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai. Gaur Nitai ki jai. By such practice of yoga or linking up in the service of the Lord, one is recognized by the Lord Himself, as it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita concerning the highest perfection stage of Samadhi. The Lord calls such a rare devotee the best amongst all the yogis. Such a perfect yogi is enabled by the divine grace of the Lord to concentrate his mind upon the Lord with a perfect sense of consciousness, and thus he easily chants the holy name while quitting his body. At that time, the yogi is at once transferred by the internal energy of the Lord to one of the eternal planets where there is no question of material life and its concomitant factors. In material existence, a living being has to endure the material conditions of the threefold miseries, life after life, according to his fruitive work. Such material life is produced by material desires only. Devotional service to the Lord does not kill the natural desires of the living being, but they are applied in the right cause, devotional service. This qualifies the yogi to be transferred to the spiritual sky. General Bhismadeva is referring to a particular type of yoga called Bhakti Yoga, and he was fortunate enough to have the Lord directly in his presence before he quit his material body. He therefore requests that the Lord stay before his view in the following verses. चक्षुर्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Last week we were covering about Bhismadeva He was on the bed of arrows. He was talking to the Pandavas. He was telling to the Pandavas that what kind of reverses they went through in their life is something unimaginable. They had to go through all these kind of these things, kind of lot of difficulties. Huh? The kind of difficulties which are wherein they are not fit to live. They are actually not fit to live. That kind of atrocities they had to go through, but yet by the mercy of who are the three? What are the three we discussed?
Dharma,
Dharma,
God,
God, and the scriptures. By the mercy of these three, no, sorry, not the scriptures. Dharma, the scriptures, God, and the Brahmanas or the Vaishnavas. Okay, so these are the three things, and we also had discussed how it is only because of the Kala and not because of the Purva Prarabdha karmas of Pandavas or the what you call our Dharmaraya, Yudhishtira. It is not because of their Papa karmas they had to go through the suffering. And it is all not because of their Papa karmas, and then now they came to a battlefield and they have waged a war, and it was now in the war, Yudhishthira is becoming more responsible for so much of killing and he has done so much of sin. No, Bhismadeva has negated all of those things that, Lord Krishna's desires are something inconceivable. Okay. Yeah. And before that, he also says that they were all acting on the force of Kala. And we also have discussed there are 20. How many elements totally?
27.
27 elements we have discussed. And 25th element is Kala. Above influence of Kala lies the Jivatma, and above Jivatma lies the Paramatma. Right? We have also discussed that in the last session. Then we moved on to the next verse, wherein, because of all of these reasons, then Bhismadeva directs to Yudhishthira that he should accept the throne. There are so many people, they have to be guided now. Now you have to accept the throne. And then he starts addressing him as, my dear Lord. He addresses, first he directs his grandson to become the king. And then after telling so, he starts addressing him as the king. Like that. So very interestingly, he does that. So having directed like that, now he wants to prepare himself to leave this world. Okay. So then he says that, Lord is supremely kind and equally balanced. Okay. He's equally kind to everybody and is free from false ego of differentiation. That's where we had entered in the last session. Yet, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. I think up to here we had discussed verse 22. Now we are reading this verse 23, wherein the Lord Krishna, he appears in the mind of a devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name. Releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Here, what is interesting to be seen and be, we should, propagate, understand this. In the purport, Prabhupada says that it is the Lord Krishna who is going to remind us at the time of death that we should remember him. So generally we'll think we'll be worried. We don't know at the time of death. It is heard that it is very, very painful. How much pain? 60,000 scorpions will bite at a time. That much pain will be there. We don't know whether we'll remember Krishna or not. Huh? I didn't do any service properly. All those things I will be thinking. Right? But actually, it is Lord Krishna who will make us remember at the time. Okay. Now again, afterwards, it's up to us whether we'll continue to remember or not, right? So that's why we have to practice also. Lord Krishna will give us a chance. So then at the time, we should immediately be attentive. By attentive devotion, bhaktya, aveshya, manaha, bhaktya aveshya manaha. We should become, the mind should be so much attentive towards Krishna. And by chanting the holy names, we get released from the bondage of fruity works. Okay, so now we'll go on to the next verse. May my Lord, who is four-handed, whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling. Kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. There's a very, very interesting purport here. I read this long ago, this, portion of the Bhagavatam. So when I read this purport, it was so nice, I felt. So somebody can help read this purport?
Bhismadeva knew well that Lord Krishna is the original Narayana. His worshipable deity was four-handed Narayana, but he knew that four-handed Narayana is the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. Indirectly, he desired Lord Sri Krishna to manifest himself in his four-handed feature of Narayana. A Vaishnava is always humble in his behavior.
So, Bhismadeva is requesting Lord Krishna to show his four-handed form. Okay. So we cannot demand, no, Lord is Supreme Lord, Devadeva. Okay. So now a Vaishnava is a humble in his behavior. Why Vaishnava is humble in his behavior? We'll understand. Who is General Bhismadeva? A very great Kshatriya. You know how many years he lived? He lived more than 350 years. Okay. So the Pandavas were, at the time of battlefield, how old they were? 89-year-old. Okay. And Bhismadeva was their grandfather. So that's the calculation in those days in the Dwapar Yuga, right? So a Vaishnava, okay, go on. Next one, somebody else.
Although it was 10% certain that Bhismadeva was approaching Vaikuntha Dhama just after leaving his material body, still as humble Vaishnava, he desired to see the beautiful face of the Lord. For after quitting the present body, he might not be in a position to see the Lord anymore. The Vaishnava is
One second. So even though a devotee, would have done such a great service like the way the Bhismadeva has done such a great service, all through his life, being an administrator, being, so many, what you call upadhis, with various upadhis, he has served the Lord, positive upadhis, Pandavas, such great Vaishnavas. But still he was thinking that he might not go to Vaikuntha. It may not be possible. How you can say, Prabhu, in presence of Krishna, Bhismadeva is leaving. No? How can he think like that? Actually, it is quite possible because that is the nature of living entities desiring potency. The desiring thing, potency has to be purified by us. We cannot, be overconfident about ourselves, our, activities or in this life. Like that, we cannot be overconfident. So hence he was requesting Lord Krishna, I don't know whether in the next life what I will be and all of those things. Let me have the darshana of yourself as the Chaturbhuja Narayana. See how humble is the Vaishnava behavior. Another devotee can read.
A Vaishnava is not puffed up, although the Lord guarantees his pure devotee entrance into his abode. Here Bhismadeva says, as long as I do not quit this body. This means that the great general would quit the body by his own will. He was not being forced by the laws of nature. He was so powerful that he could stay in his body as long as he desired. He got this benediction from his father. He desired that the Lord stay before him in his four-handed Narayana feature so that he might concentrate upon him and thus be in trance in that meditation.
Okay. So now you see, if you just imagine Bhishmadeva's position, nobody in the planet at that time had a power to determine when he will die. Nobody has that power, right? So with that power, he would have become proud, right? He would have become proud, but he wasn't proud. That power did not, what you call, went into his. He didn't go into his head, right? So he was so powerful that he could stay in his body as long as he desired.
అవి ఫ్రై చేయాలి ఫ్రై కావాలి
Can you mute all?
అది అట్లనే చేయాలి తినాలి మళ్ళీ నువ్వు కట్ చేయొద్దు
So he desired that the Lord stay before him in his four-handed Narayana feature so that he might concentrate upon him and thus be in trance in the meditation. So that's another interesting lesson. So where is so then his mind might be sanctified with the thinking of the Lord. Thus he did not mind wherever he might go. He is not bothered. Where will I go? I don't know. Okay. That anxiety is also not there. Okay. So this is a very interesting statement. I'll read it myself carefully. A pure devotee is never very anxious to go back to the kingdom of God. He entirely depends on the goodwill of the Lord. He is equally satisfied even if the Lord desires that he go to hell. The only desire that a pure devotee entertains is that God Nitai ki jai ho, Raghunath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai ho, Radha Krishna. So the only desire that a pure devotee entertains is that he may always be in rapt attention with thinking of the Lord, of the lotus feet of the Lord, regardless of where he is. See the way how Prabhupada used the English words to construct and give a very right understanding to us. Okay, a pure devotee is not at all anxious to go back to the kingdom of Godhead. He's entirely dependent on goodwill of the Lord. Okay, no problem. Wherever Lord wants him to go, okay, no problem. So does it mean that a pure devotee is like a stone, no, what you call, no desire? He is like fully become like a Trunadapi Sunicha. No, he has but one desire he can maintain. What is that one desire? That he may always be in rapt attention with thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord, regardless of where he is. Kita, Bhaktivinoda Thakura sings that in the what is the point in being a Bahirmukha Brahma? If you just become Brahma and become Bahirmukha of Krishna, there's no point. It's useless. Kita hua janma tuva das. If you become an insect, but if you become the insect in the house of your Tuvadasa, in your servant's house, that is better. Why? Because you'll be able to remember him. So the only desire that a pure devotee entertains is that he may always be in rapt attention with thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord. See here, moment the word only is used, means it is excluding everything else. It's not an inclusive definition. It is a very exclusively, very specific thing, statement, qualification used by the word, by Prabhupada by using the word only. So the only desire that a pure devotee entertains. So many other desires may come, chodo, nikal do. Okay. Hmm? Hmm? But the only pure desire which a pure devotee entertains is that he may always be in rapt attention with thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord, regardless of where he is. Bhaktya avesha manaha. Bhismadeva wanted this much only, that his mind be absorbed in thinking of the Lord and that he pass away thus. That is the highest ambition of a pure devotee.
Prabhu, if Krishna himself is the supreme personality, then why Vishwanath needs to see the 400 form? Isn't he already seen the best?
That is his constitutional position.
Yes.
That is the constitutional position of Bhismadeva. That is his way of interacting with Krishna.
So he's saying that even Krishna himself is
He is,
not.
see, understand who is Bhismadeva?
He's
No, what kind of rasa he has? Huh? He interacts with Lord Krishna in the Bibhatsa rasa, Veer rasa. Okay. So there are 5 primary rasas and 7 uparasas are there. Secondary rasas are there. In the secondary rasas, Bhismadevas is a very chivalrous general. Okay. He sees, as we will understand later on in the purports, in this thing, he want to see the Lord in his fighting valor. That is not there in the Goloka Vrindavan. That's in the other planets, Vaikuntha planets, like that. So, no, but we see, we should understand that when you are studying Bhagavatam, we should give up our rascal, Western, educated, reductionistic mindset. Okay. In a Western education mindset, we will think, oh, Bhismadeva is only worshipping Narayana. No. I'll not leave. I'll not tell now. As the purports come, it should get revealed. Okay. Suta uvacha Yudhishthirastadakranya Shayanam Sharapanjare Aprachat Vividan Dharma Krishinam Chanushunvatam Suta uvacha Yudhishthirastadakranya Shayanam Sharapanjare Aprachat Vividan Dharma Krishinam Chanushunvatam. So, before we read the translation and purport, in the previous purport, I thought somebody will ask that question. Nobody asked that question. What is that? See, there is a colon put by Srila Prabhupada. You should very carefully apply all the grammatical principles of English also when we are reading this. Bhismadeva wanted this much only, that his mind be absorbed in thinking of the Lord and that he pass away thus. Did Prabhupada go and ask Bhismadeva at the time when he was passing? How did he give this kind of a statement? Correct?
How Prabhupada knows.
How Prabhupada knows? So, have this question in mind. I'll not answer.
The one answer probably, Prabhu, is that
by Yadadeva, all the directions line is
What Maharaja Prabhu?
Bhismadeva is a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada also is a pure devotee. So a pure devotee knows the mind of another pure devotee.
Okay, a pure devotee knows the mind of other pure devotee. Okay, great point. Yeah. Great point. Great answer. Yeah. So, whenever these kind of statements are there in the purports, okay, what we as disciples should do. Say, imagine some scholar comes who is not necessarily a proper Prabhupada Anuga. Imagine he is coming from some other sampradaya. Okay, be it say Madhva or Sri Vaishnava or some other sampradayas. If they come and challenge you like this, there are Vaishnavas. Okay, but they challenge, hey, this is not there anywhere. How did Prabhupada say like this? So that's why, we should study the scriptures very carefully and do this. So what Maharati Prabhu gave will work within Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Hey, what yaar, pure devotee can talk like, chalega. Yeah? But when we have to deal with other scholars in the other this thing, so that is when we have to apply one more important principle. Sometime back I had discussed about philosophical speculation and mental speculation. I don't know whether you all remember that. My father is calling. You want to come here, just see. So what is the difference between philosophical speculation and mental speculation? In the case of a mental speculation, there is no baselining principle. But in the case of a philosophical speculation, we accept this as an axiomatic truth and further study to prove how it is true. Okay? So Bhismadeva wanted this much only, that his mind be absorbed in thinking of the Lord and that he pass away thus. So this statement now we have to study further how it is a valid principle and come back. I'll just give another example. It is said that the Guru of Tukaram is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How can that happen? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is before Babar came to India. But whereas Tukaram is during the time of Shivaji. How can this happen? Correct, no? Huh? Right? We had these questions, no? So we have to again search historical evidences because these statements of our acharyas cannot go wrong. So we have to search. So now how the statement is true, we have to search. Have this in mind. That much only I said. So that's why we have to study the scriptures carefully. So again, you see the nice Sanskrit words used. Okay. Both they are poetically nicely composed and also they are composed in such a way it glorifies the position of the person who is being glorified here. That is Bhismadeva. Okay. Yudhishtiras tat akarnya shayanam sharapanjare. He didn't tell about Bhismadeva here. But who is the person who is shayanam sleeping on sharapanjare? It is Bhismadeva. Okay. Aprichat vividan dharman. He has questioned about vividan dharman. Rishinam cha anushunvatam. All the great sages whom we have listed earlier, right? Vyasadeva and all of the such great sages were there. Okay. So he has asked, Maharaj Yudhishtira, after hearing Bhismadeva speak in that appealing tone, what did Bhismadeva ask in an appealing tone? He asked Yudhishthira to become the king. Okay. And then he said that now I'm going to quit my body. Okay. before I quit my body, I want Lord Krishna to show his Narayana feature so that I can have his darshana and meditate like that, and I can leave this body like that, he said. Then Yudhishthira started asking him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. A person is going to leave away, okay? Yudhishthira should say, no, 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 don't go away. I still need your guidance. Huh? You please be here. Oh, you told me to become the emperor. Huh? But now you wanted to see me also as an emperor. Why don't you just be there? Few more. Anyway, you have the ability and power to leave this world at any time whenever you are. Huh? Because Yudhishthira, he's lost his father at a very such a young age, right? Right? It was Bhismadeva was only practically like that. But you see, Bhismadeva was leaving the planet. Yudhishthira was asking questions about the Dharma. So much they are focused on their duty. Right? Yeah.
Bhismadeva, he left his body at the end of the battlefield, but before even Yudhishthira died, Duryodhana died, right? Before Duryodhana died, Bhismadeva left his body.
No. After the 10th day, when the Bhismadeva goes onto the bed of the arrows, he immediately doesn't die. That is because it is still in the Dakshinayana.
He wanted to stay alive till the battlefield. Right?
Till the end of the battlefield, and he wanted to see the Pandavas win. He also wanted to see the Pandavas be enthroned as the emperors of the world.
But he left the body after Duryodhana died or before Duryodhana?
Much after. At least that other day we were calculating something. No? It is good more than 28 days or 30 days. Okay.
By which time the
Ashwatthama's incident.
yeah.
The Ashwatthama's incident. Ashwatthama will be killing the Upapandavas, and he will be arrested, and he will be sent released. Then again,
also got meet Duryodhana, Ashwatthama.
Ashwatthama goes and meets Duryodhana. Ashwatthama, seeing this, Duryodhana gets fed up with Ashwatthama's heinous act. Then Duryodhana dies. Actually, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Bhishma breaks the legs of Duryodhana, Duryodhana is not dead fully. He was half dead. Okay. But when he sees that Ashwatthama brought those skulls of the Upapandavas, then he's disgracefully was disgusted with the act of Ashwatthama, and he dies. So now let's move on. Okay, so Maharaj Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhismadeva speaking in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. Now let us read another wonderful, beautiful purport by Prabhupada. Okay. Bhismadeva, speaking in that appealing tone, convinced Maharaj Yudhishthira that he was very soon passing away. Okay. Now anybody else? Mataji would like to read? Payal Mataji. Yeah. And Maharaj.
Yudhishthira was inspired by Lord Krishna to ask him the principle of religion. The Lord Krishna inspired Maharaj Yudhishthira to ask Bhismadeva in the presence of many great sages, indicates a devotee of Lord like Bhismadev. Bhismadev, although apparently living as the worldly man, if a far superior to many great sages, even Vasudeva. Another point is
Vyasadeva.
Vasudeva. Vyasadeva. Another point is that Bhismadeva at the time was not only lying on the deathbed of arrows, but also greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time. But Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotee are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment. And that in the circumstance of devotee of the Lord in perfect order to speak the right way properly.
Okay, so now see how nicely Prabhupada is glorifying the position of Bhismadeva, right? So Bhismadeva was about to leave. Okay, I gave one kind of an interpretation that Yudhishtira should have asked him to stay back. Another interpretation is Yudhishtira should have thought Bhismadeva is already suffering so much. He wanted to leave. No problem, let him leave. We say, sometimes, somebody's in the hospital. He's already suffering. He's suffered enough, yeah. Let him go. That we also will think, right? But see, those things do not apply for a pure devotee. That's what we should apply, think, right? So here, what is the specific position of Bhismadeva? He was a great general. He was a worldly man. Okay, but then still, we have understood the context that Yudhishthira was not willing to go and sit on the throne, right? Vyasadeva tried to convince. All the great rishis came tried to convince. No, Yudhishthira was not at all agreeing. Lord Krishna himself was trying to convince Yudhishthira, but Yudhishthira was not getting convinced, right? We also know that, we also heard that Lord Krishna was speaking outside to Yudhishthira, trying to convince, but as Paramatma inside Yudhishthira, he was not convincing Yudhishthira. Why? Because Krishna had a plan. The plan is this now, that even though Bhishmacharya was playing an ordinary role of a Kshatriya, his state of consciousness was far, far, far greater than any of the rishis who were present over there. And thus, the questions of Yudhishthira could be answered only by Bhismadeva, nobody else. Okay, maybe Bhismadeva was like, Sutta Goswami or Sukadeva Goswami, happily seated on a Vyasasan. No, sir. Bhismadeva was seated on bed of arrows. Arrows are pointed shafts, not like our Karlon pillow or Karlon whatever that, nice bed. Huh? Pointed arrows. Those arrows are very, very sharp. Huh? And how did the arrows go? First, it went through the body of the Bhismadeva, right? That those arrows are also there like that. Then again, for him to sleep, okay, he had shot, right? Arjuna shot the bed of arrows. On such sharp arrows, he was sleeping. Okay. But he was unaffected. Okay. So, a pure devotee, the Lord Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment, and that in any circumstances, a devotee of the Lord is thus in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. So just around 4 or 5 days before Srila Prabhupada left this planet, no, in fact, not 4 or 5 days, Gauridas Pandit Prabhu says that this is what he had heard last from Srila Prabhupada speaking. This was probably just a day before Prabhupada left this planet. So 14th of November 1977, Prabhupada leaves this world. So one day before. So what happens is, this was in Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. 1st and 2nd of November 1977, Prabhupada conducts a very big Gita Sammelan. Okay. And then after that 2nd November, that is the 3rd and 4th of November 1977, next 3 or 4 days, the first Science and Spirituality Conference was conducted by Prabhupada through his disciples, Sarupa Damodar Maharaj and others. Various professors from all your IITs and all of those and across the world were invited for a discussion about the science of the soul and the science at large and spirituality. Those topics were being debated. Afterwards, every day, Swarup Damodar Maharaj was giving those reports. So they were all going back. Prabhupada was listening, Prabhupada was correcting them and telling them and all of those things. Afterwards, all that professors and scientists were there for a few more days and they were sent back. All the darshans and all of those things, they were sent back. So this was one day before Srila Prabhupada left this planet, okay, on 13th November 1977. So the question comes, I think some call is coming to somewhere. So, on 13th November 1977, so this devotee Swarup Damodar Maharaj comes to Prabhupada and he says so many things about the science, spirituality, this, that, questions which are all coming. So then Prabhupada, he was still lying on the bed. Okay. He suddenly gets up and he says that these scientists cannot understand all of these things because they don't know what is Brahma Bhuta. What is the Brahma Bhuta personality is. Huh? He says that and then he says, I am that Brahma Bhuta personality. Prabhupada is that Brahma Bhuta personality. That he says. See how he was very, very unaffected. A lot of things were going on during Prabhupada's time. Prabhupada leaving this planet, I told, right, last week, his own disciples were trying to poison him and things like that, right? So, but yet you see how Prabhupada was still guiding the mission even that time and answering queries. He was so sound in his body and mind, even at the time of passing away. Yudhishtira also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhismadeva rather than anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhismadeva. So that was also personal desire of Yudhisthira. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier Lord Sri Krishna for establishing the glories of his devotee. Huh? You see the adjective used by Prabhupada. Okay, this was a great arrangement done by not ordinary Krishna. He is a great Krishna. Not Krishna who was carrying Sudarshana. It is the Krishna who is carrying the wheel. Which wheel? Chariot wheel, who came to kill Bhismadeva. Huh? So this is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier Lord Sri Krishna for establishing the glories of his devotee. The father likes to see the son become more famous than himself. What is the desire of a father? The father desires that son should become more famous than himself. So Krishna was desiring that Bhismadeva should become more famous than him. The Lord declares very emphatically that the worship of his devotee is more valuable than the worship of the Lord himself. So, when I was maybe some around, you can say around 20 years ago or 19 years back or something, I was talking to one devotee. Okay. I think I just cleared my CA around that time. Okay. So that devotee just called me. Okay. So that devotee apparently didn't clear his CA. Okay, but he became a full-time missionary. Okay. But he is considered as a very, very scholarly devotee, very well read. Okay. So one fine day he called me into his cabin. So he was asking me, how was it? How did you read? And all of those things. I said, my reading is okay, this, that, blah, blah. So many things I said. Then he told, okay, open any random page of Bhagavad Gita. I said, okay, kya bhai, theek hai. I opened one random page of Bhagavad Gita. Huh? Then he told me, read that purport. I read that purport. So then he asked me, okay, Prabhupada is saying like this in the purport. From where Prabhupada is saying these things? I was like, from where? Prabhupada is saying, no, in English. Huh? No, from where Prabhupada is referring? It's pure English. Then I again read again. Oh yeah, this is kind of somewhere it is here, but it was, I'm not able to reflect where exactly it was. So then that devotee, each line of Prabhupada's purport, he started linking in Sanskrit some other slokas elsewhere. Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all of those things. I was like shocked. Then he said, okay, open another random purport of Bhagavad Gita. I opened some other random page. And then again I read. He started linking each of these lines in English lines to Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, elsewhere. Then he said, this is what it is, a pure devotee. Even though he has that realization of talking directly to Bhismadeva, but his statements, whatever he quotes in the purport, are perfectly in line with the statements of the scriptures. Okay, it is not just some kind of possibility, probability theory. These are all perfectly in line with the scriptures. So, you should carefully analyze. See, why I said this wheel carrier, Lord Sri Krishna, for establishing the glories of his devotee, that we will see later on. That we will see later on in the next few verses why this statement is true. Mm. So we should carefully read in this way. So now onwards, what are the queries of Yudhishtira Maharaj? Okay, and how Bhismadeva has answered. All of those things are there in the next 4 or 5 verses. I initially thought that we'll cover the whole thing. Okay, but when I read through yesterday, this section is again very, very interesting section. What are the questions asked by Yudhisthira and how Bhismadeva answers? That will be coming in the Shanti Parva. I think in the chapter number 60 or something in the Shanti Parva. Very interesting section of Yudhishthira's instructions, which Prabhupada summarizes in very single lines like that. Because those are all huge chapters are there, which Prabhupada summarizes them. So we'll end here. If anybody has any questions, yes.
So one aspect is that, it is all his leelas. I know the wheel carrier had a greater plan. This is one aspect. But Prabhu, what happened to Draupadi, like the Vastraharan happened, would not have happened if one person who is Bhismadeva would have opened his mouth. Nobody had dare to go against Bhismadeva at that point in time, but he didn't open his mouth. And all that happened is a history. Now, I see like more of Bhismadevas in our Bharatvarsh now. Like, keeping quiet, who are empowered, who can actually stop things and not speaking. More of Bhismadevas are coming. Is it like after he got into the bed of arrows, all this came out? He was no doubt a great devotee, but then why he didn't open? Was it only the arrangement of the wheel carrier, or is it like once he got into the bed and then all this came out, Prabhu? So how can we understand this? Like why, going back to the same question, like, all these bad things happening because the right people who are empowered are not opening the mouth at the right time.
Okay. So, first of all, we should understand that who is Bhismadeva. Bhismadeva is one of the Dvadasa Mahajanas, right? One who can represent Lord Krishna in terms of what is Dharma. What is Dharma and what is not Dharma. He is such a great personality. So in that Asat Sabha, there were two personalities were there. Vidura, Bhishmadeva, Dronacharya of course was there, and also Yudhishtira himself. See, the point here is that we generally conclude based on our current way of thinking. Okay? We should never paste our current way of thinking with what they were thinking. Okay? Vidura had a very clear conception and he didn't agree with that, and when nobody else was agreeing, he just left that same. Okay? Bhishmadeva was also confused about the principle of dharma there. So, what was he teaching by that? What is the lesson he was teaching at that time to all of us? Couple of lessons. One lesson is that the principle of religion is very, very detailed. It is very, very circumstantial. It is principle driven and very, very circumstantial. This universe is very, very complicated. There are trillions and trillions of jivas are there with different varieties of desires. So much so that one book cannot solve everything. That's why you have plethora of books. Hinduism, we have, plethora of books to deal with various circumstances and ascertain what is dharma, what is right. Okay. There are 20 different dharma shastras are there, 108 Upanishads, Puranas, so many are there, right? Okay. So every circumstance has to be assessed. It's not that Bhishma kept quiet. When Draupadi asked Bhismadeva, Bhismadeva did not keep quiet. He answered her. He answered her that the principle of dharma is very, very complicated. He is not able to assess which is right, which is wrong. Because Yudhishtira, as per certain set of rules, Draupadi was a wife of Yudhishtira, and when Yudhishtira has put aside all of his properties, even wife also is considered as a property at that circumstance, and hence she becomes a slave of Kauravas, Duryodhana and party. But then there are other set of principles are there